What's up, my friends? Welcome back to the Papo. We're on episode 3 now, after over a year, I think, since I recorded the last one. I don't know. I created this extra channel so we can talk about things that don't really make it into the main vlogs. I don't really know if I want to have a podcast. I don't know if that's something that I want to do. Like if I want to actually host people and just talk about things that, I don't know, I feel like I'm personally tired of podcasts. I think most people should be by now. We've overdone podcasting, but a lot of people aren't tired of it. So we're going to be a little hypocritical and we're going to do one anyways. A solo podcast. Those are the worst kinds, when you just look at a guy talking to himself, talking to a camera, without any guests, nobody asking questions, just me speaking my mind. It is what it is. And it's something we're going to do because I also just got back from a trip filming 8 different cities. I think we did 8. I don't know. I have a list. We did New Orleans, Chicago, Milwaukee, New York, Boston, DC, and Toronto. 7 cities, 6 of them in the US and Toronto in Canada. And that was a lot of fun. It was very interesting. I never expected North America to be so interesting for me. I always looked to travel outside the US and Canada and, go to Latin America, go to Europe. I'm looking forward to going to Asia still, but this trip in the US really made me realize how interesting of a country we live in. It's crazy. It's nuts. It's just we don't all get to experience it. And I surely didn't get to experience it in most of my life here. You don't really, if you don't seek it, you don't get it. It's kind of one of those things. Now, I know there are some exceptions. People who live in New York, people who live in these big cities might say, hey, my day-to-day is always interesting. I got people around me. I got different cultures. I'm exposed to all types of things. I don't need to travel. I met people in New York who really had that approach. And then I met some people who felt like they didn't get out enough at all. The barber in Milwaukee who doesn't even have a passport. There's a lot of people in this country who don't get to travel. So I feel like no matter where we make videos, it's going to be interesting for someone. That's something that I've learned in my 2 years, almost 3 years making YouTube videos, is that no matter what I make, it's going to interest someone. So that's also part of the reason why I'm filming this right now, because it's going to interest someone. So let's just jump into it. I'm going to do a city recap. We're going to talk a little bit about each of these cities that we visited. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them in real time. So this should kind of be a live stream technically, but it's not. So let me know in the comments throughout this video. If you have any thoughts pop up, stay respectful, stay nice, stay cool. Throw them in the comments. Let me know, because I'm sure there are a lot of things that I didn't pick up on. And my experience is only my experience. So we're going to start with New Orleans, Nolans, okay? One of the most interesting cities in the country, maybe even in the world, some would say. I don't really think so, but it was a cool place. New Orleans is not such a big city. It's a pretty small city. That's what keeps it interesting. It's very unique. It's known to have that Creole culture, big on the voodoo, the haunted stuff, jazz music, of course. I thought it was a cool place. I also thought that I visited, I want to say, at one of the worst times you can visit, but I also don't fully think that, because it was cool to be there in the low season. It was very hot. It's swampy. So the weather's it's like Florida without the breeze. So it was nuts. It was super hot. People were so nice. Food was awesome. And then I did that road trip out to Lafayette and the Cajun country, went to the Tabasco factory. That whole video that I made, the solo road trip video, believe it or not, was the biggest investment I've made in a video, I think, ever, money-wise, because I had to rent a car and I had to go and stay in an Airbnb and gas, and I don't know, it was the biggest investment. It was probably the worst video I made in the whole trip, but I had fun because I met some interesting people, and I went to a place that I never thought I'd go to. So it was cool. Louisiana is kind of weird. And when I say weird, I mean if you're coming from the East Coast, it's weird. If you're coming from the West Coast, it's weird. If you're coming from anywhere in the world or in the US to Louisiana, it's weird. Okay? Now, here's the thing. I'm trying to think, how can I explain why Louisiana's weird? I don't know. I don't know. And different parts of Louisiana will be different types of weird. And I think, like, at the end of the day, everyone's weird. I'm sure I'm weird. Like, I'm a weirdo to many people, but to them, not to me, right? And then they're weirdos to me. It's a normal thing that we have going on in this world. Everyone's a weirdo, but Louisiana, full of weirdos. But sometimes, like, in a good way, because they're so friendly and they're doing their thing. They're living their life on such a different frequency than the rest of the country. It might actually be a great thing. But yeah, Louisiana was the one place where I felt like, especially like going out to the countryside and staying in this Airbnb in Lafayette alone, it felt like a ghost town too. And I had these two girls in a tattoo shop giving me this whole rant about how, spirits and ghosts are real and they have spirits living with them in their tattoo shop and they're there every day and they're breaking glass and I'm like, and I go back to the Airbnb and I'm like, shit, I am sleeping with ghosts right now because there's barely anyone in this city. Like, Lafayette's an actual city. It's not just like a little town. And I'm sleeping with ghosts and this is terrifying. And I'm like, what's going on? I've never been more spooked out in my life. And that's something that I could have and should have shared on the vlog while I was filming. But I think my fear was so genuine that I just didn't, I don't know. I wasn't thinking about vlogging. I was just like in bed. I was like thinking about all the things that can go wrong. Even though, whatever, it's Louisiana, it's fine. And then when you're in New Orleans, it's totally different. There's tourists from all over the world. Everyone's just trying to have a good time. Me not drinking alcohol for the past year definitely changed the course of that trip. Like, I wasn't going out and getting shit-faced, but New Orleans was so cool because, I don't know, it was just one of those cities where it has character and people are relaxed and they're laid back, and walking through the Garden District where all those beautiful houses were, I don't know, it was fun. But there's not too much to say about New Orleans at the end of the day. I just want to say, like, cool city, nice people, weird, but awesome. And from that point on, like, once I got to Chicago, I realized how much I appreciate big cities. The reason why I gravitate towards big cities is because that's where you really get, like, just all the cultural action and the melting pot. And like, New Orleans is cool, but it's specific. You go there for a specific culture. You go there to experience the Creole, the Cajun, the jazz music, the Mardi Gras. Like, it's specific. Like, you would go anywhere else. You would go to Mexico. You would go to different parts of Mexico, see specific cultures. But when you go to Chicago, New York, Toronto, these are cities that bring everyone together. It's crazy and it's awesome. Now, Chicago is interesting. If you watch the People of Chicago video, it's my most viewed video till this day. I don't know why, but it is. One of the things in that video that got everyone's attention was the fact that I brought up that it was so segregated, right? Now, I want to make something clear. The reason why I spoke about it being segregated is because people kept on mentioning it. You know what I mean? Like, they kept on saying that Chicago is very segregated. Like, people kept on telling me, like, oh, it's segregated, be careful. They don't like these people. They don't like your type of people. And it's like, that's why segregation came up as a topic in the Chicago video, because it was like, that's what people wanted to talk about.
It's a very racist place. They don't like black people.
What part are you from?
I'm from the South Side.
South Side. Which neighborhood?
Englewood.
Englewood. That's where I want to go. I want to go to Englewood.
No, you don't.
Later, I saw comments saying that Milwaukee is the most segregated city in the country. And I went to Milwaukee. That was the next city I visited. And I didn't talk about segregation in the Milwaukee video because that topic didn't even emerge in my interactions with people while I was there. So I just want to make that clear. The Chicago video was kind of like, the focus was kind of how it's a neighborhood city. And that, in my video, that is what came across to the viewers. It doesn't mean necessarily that Chicago is the most segregated city in the country. I just wanted to clarify that. But anyways, Chicago was amazing because I had been there many times before, but I always kind of went to the same neighborhoods. It was always like downtown, River North, Wrigleyville, Logan Park, like Wicker Park at night, to drink, and I got, go to the suburbs. And Okay, that's a totally different Chicago than what I saw in this past trip. This past trip, we went to Little Village, we went to Bridgeport, we went to the Polish neighborhood, which is now like pretty much Wicker Park, Humboldt Park. I didn't even scratch the surface, and we saw tons of different cultures. Now, what did I like most about this Chicago trip was that everyone was nice to me. No matter what neighborhood I went to, no matter who I said hi to, pretty much everyone was nice to me. There was one guy in the park, in the Puerto Rican neighborhood in Humboldt Park, who saw me from a distance, speaking to my camera, like I was vlogging and I was just filming a bit where I was, speaking my thoughts to the neighborhood and everything, walking down that path through the Green Park in the Puerto Rican neighborhood, and this guy from a distance, he's like, "Hey, don't fucking film here." And I was so thrown off. I gotta check if the camera was rolling. I might have footage that, I don't know if it picked up the audio of him saying that, but it was bizarre. People are against people filming. It's a normal thing. Like, don't think that every video I make, people are gonna be happy about the camera. I've been told to fuck off before, but like never like that. That was like the most aggressive fuck off I've ever received in my life. And it was in Humboldt Park in the Puerto Rican neighborhood. So I thought that was funny. And then I kind of laughed it off and I got the hell out of there. Then later, when I was in Milwaukee afterwards, I was at the barber shop. One of the guys, or I think both of the guys, were Puerto Rican, and I told them that story, and they were like, "Yeah, it sounds very Puerto Rican, they don't like the camera." So I don't know, I might not go to Puerto Rico to film, but I want to visit Puerto Rico anyways, and I think it's a cool culture anyways, even though my experience in Humboldt Park in the Puerto Rican neighborhood was pretty dull. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but anyways, favorite neighborhood in Chicago, I don't know. It's not Humboldt Park, but I don't know which one it is, because each neighborhood gave me a different vibe and this different, I love Chicago feeling. I even went to Chinatown. I didn't film it in the video, but I went there. It's a really cool Chinatown, and they have like a crazy view of the skyline. Oh, I put that part, I think, in the video, or I must have shared it on Instagram, I'm not sure. But Chicago's skyline is one of the best in the world. I think it's the best in the country. It's amazing. Chicago's an awesome city. There's no reason for me to sit here and just talk about Chicago for an hour, because you should just go visit, figure it out. But it's awesome for food. It's pretty awesome for people. Milwaukee. I don't want to talk, listen, Milwaukee, I want to talk about Milwaukee so much, but I feel like me talking about it is only going to do it damage, because it's such a cool place. And people who ruin places, I don't know how to say this, when we bring too much attention to one place, the place gets ruined, It's like the evil eye or something. Talk about how great New York City is, and now look at what happened in New York City. We'll get there. I'll get there. That's later on in this video. I will tell you why New York City is now. Forget about it. I'm not here to talk negatively about places on purpose, but we might have to do so a little bit. Milwaukee was definitely the most underrated city that I've visited in this trip. Special place. Very nice people. Like Chicago nice, but double it. Was it more segregated than Chicago? Possibly. I didn't spend enough time there to really tell you, but I think so. I kind of got the vibe too. Yeah, I don't know, but there's a vibe there. There's something cool about it. So I get to Milwaukee and I'm filming. Immediately when I get there, I start filming because I was just excited to be there. I don't know why. Immediately I got hit by this vibe where it was just, it's also summer, so it's a nice time to be there. Sunny day, weather is pretty nice, people are nice. Everyone who you look at says hello to you, and it kind of reminds me of the friendliness of the South, but it's different. They're super friendly, like the people in Louisiana, but it's a different type of friendly. And they're also, I don't know how to put this, I really want to say this as a compliment. The Wisconsin, Milwaukee people are also they're weird, but it's a good weird. Their friendliness and their weirdness it's so positive and it's so awesome to be around. I don't know how to explain it at all. It's almost like my weird. if I feel good energy from you, I just want to stand around and talk to you and learn from you and hear from you. And I'm curious about you genuinely. So Milwaukee and, you know, the Wisconsin people, they kind of they gave me that vibe. So that was awesome. So I get there and the interactions are flowing. I had so many interactions in Milwaukee. A lot of them didn't even make the video that I posted, but most of them I think did. And the craziest thing, when I get to the city hall downtown, that was like, you know, the I'm not the father moment, and Marissa or whatever telling me about the Bible and the Israelites or whatever. Like, that whole thing, the way it happened was, I've never had something like that happen to me while filming. Like, the weirdness and how it all connected and just how it all happened one after the other. I don't know how to explain it, but if you saw the video, you know what I'm talking about. Basically, I go to the downtown Milwaukee. This was after exploring the historic Walker's Point neighborhood, and I'm meeting all these nice people and seeing these cool historic buildings. So I go into downtown Milwaukee, and the oldest building, I think, in the city, which is like, it looked like a clock tower. It was their city hall. So I go into the city hall, and the first thing that I see on the wall in the city hall was the whole story of, you know, who built it. And it was the Dutch people and the German people who came here back in the day. Apparently Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it was the most German part of the U.S. back then. So a lot of German immigrants and all that architecture and influence, you know, it impacted the city. So basically, I learned pretty quickly that the building was built by the Germans, and that was whatever, fun fact. I walk through the city hall, I meet this girl, she comes up to me and actually asks me, what am I filming? And she's like, what are you filming? I'm like, yeah, I'm making a video about Milwaukee. She's like, okay, where can I follow you? So I give her my YouTube channel. It's like, okay, nice to meet you. Conversation, that's it. It was very basic. Nice to meet you. Here's my channel. Go about your day. I walk out of the building, and she comes back to talk to me, and she starts asking me about the Tartarians. I've never heard the word Tartarian in my life, okay? I've never heard it in my life. She starts asking me about the Tartarians. Have you heard about them? Da-da-da. The black original people of America. They're the ones who built this place. And this is like 3 minutes after reading that the Germans built the building. Anyways, I'm not going to get into it. But she takes out this pink Bible out of her bag, and she's like going on this whole rant. Israel, the Middle East, the people of Israel, it's not the real Israel. The real Israel is the black Israelites, and they're the original people of the America. So all of a sudden, the Native Americans are not really American. Like, I'm like, keep in mind, I had just arrived to the city. I have no idea what's going on. Why is this girl just randomly going on this rant to me? We didn't even have any conversation that would provoke any of this. But anyways, this is what she's going on her rant about. And it's all in the video. You can see the people of Milwaukee. But anyways, she goes, okay, my Uber's here. She gets in the Uber.
And that's my ride there.
All right.
I will be back in touch with you.
Okay, great. It's nice meeting you. This guy and this older woman, like, they come walking out of the city hall building. And then from a distance, he's already like shouting something at me, and I can't hear him. How's it going? And I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? And then he comes closer to me, so I flip the camera, and he's got his hand out to shake my hand. He's like,
I'm not the father, Don.
You're not the father?
Not the father, Don.
Congratulations. And I was so confused and weirded out and happy for him, like excited for him at the same time. I didn't know how to react. There was like a delay in my brain. Like, how can I react to what's going on here? I got this random girl in Milwaukee telling me with her pink Bible that everything I was taught was wrong. Not that I care. It might be wrong, but why? Who asked you, right? And she goes on this whole rant. And then she gets in her Uber, and then I got this guy and his mom walking out of the Milwaukee City Hall. He shakes my hand, tells me he's not the father. Later I go on to, you know, like, I started laughing. Oh my God. I couldn't control it. It was everything that was happening at once. I said, you know what? Doesn't matter. I can't I can't even compare it to any experience I've had in any other city, like on the level of funny that it was. I just laughed so much after that. And I was laughing about it later that night. I couldn't believe, like, I'm editing the short to post it on Instagram too, and like, while I'm editing, I'm laughing. It was the funniest thing ever. I'm laughing about it now. Like, you're in Milwaukee, which nobody ever really told you to go to. Nobody ever told me go visit Milwaukee. I was just kind of curious. It's close to Chicago. It's on Lake Michigan. Only an hour and a half drive. It's summer. Like, weather's going to be nice. I'm like, screw it. Like, we're going to Milwaukee. I get there. I expect like this normal little city on a lake, and it's like the weirdest, craziest, like, what's going on? Characters on characters on characters. Milwaukee is one of those places. Everyone is just, there's something about them. It was awesome. Milwaukee's a place that I can spend more time in, I think. Although I don't know how it would affect my brain. Like, would I start preaching crazy stuff like that? Or, I don't know. But Milwaukee was one of those places. And then the whole crazy thing about Milwaukee too was that it pretty much like took all of my expectations, whatever those could have been, and made them completely irrelevant. Like, I had no expectations. It's just like what am I going to expect from Milwaukee at the end of the day? It's like, how can you build expectations about Milwaukee? Maybe after watching my video and everything I'm saying now, you'll build these expectations. And that's why I don't want to talk too much about Milwaukee. And here I am doing it anyways, because it really was, not just content-wise, but for me, the experience and being there, it was kind of the most interesting part of the trip because, when I visit New York, I know what to expect. When I visit Chicago, I know what to expect. Milwaukee was just one of those things. I have zero expectations. I go there, I have an awesome time, I have a weird and interesting time, and I meet people that I never thought I'd meet. Especially the day after, when I went to that park, after the barbershop. I met those two kids. One was from Malaysia, one was from Burma, the I'm Not Indian kid. So after that, I got on one of those Lime bikes, and I go down through one of the parks in like South Milwaukee, or what was it, Southwest Milwaukee, what part, I can't remember. As I'm scootering through the park, I see a group of people playing this sport that I've never seen in my life. It looked like Brazilian foot volley, but with a smaller ball type thing. And apparently it's some like Southeast Asian sport, and they were crazy athletic. It was very impressive. It was very cool. So I stopped to watch them. And then we all just kind of start talking. Well, I start talking to a few of them, and they're teaching me about the sport and where they come from. And apparently they're from Burma, but they're not quite Burmese. And, some of them were moved over to Thailand, but they never got equal rights in Thailand. So then apparently, thanks to Obama, is what one of the guys said, they came to the United States, and they, a lot of them reside in Wisconsin and Indiana, and I didn't know that.
We're from the refugee part, not like Thai.
What's the refugee part?
The refugee part is we're like
refugee.
Burma and Thailand.
Oh,
so
okay.
If Burmese don't want us to end their land, we move to Thai. If Thai don't want us to end their land, we move to Burma. So, man, thanks to Obama, we finally got a place to call home.
I read a little bit about their culture and everything afterwards, but they have this whole language. Like, they're not, like, you would look at them and think they're Thai, but they speak a language called Karen. I didn't even know it existed. And honestly, this is why it's so interesting to talk about it now, because it's Milwaukee. Like, who would think that I would learn all this and experience all this in Milwaukee? So I got to meet them. They were super friendly. And Milwaukee also has a big Mexican community. So, you ask like locals, like, oh, like, what about the Mexican culture here? They'll all just be like, oh, great food. They got great food. Like, I think that's the vibe. Like, in the States, when you go to these cities and then everyone has their pockets, especially in the Midwest, or the cities are more like neighborhoody. It's not like everyone together. Milwaukee and Chicago, it's like each culture has its neighborhood, and then a lot of people don't even know of each other's existence, but the ones who do, they just know, like, oh, it's like great food. Like they'll go to their neighborhood for Mexican food, and that's it. Like, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's just how it is. Like, so you ask kind of people like in Milwaukee, like, hey, like, what's this neighborhood for? And it's like, oh, this is great Mexican food. Oh, this is great Polish food. Like, it's like, that's how it is. So me going to make a video at the city, I kind of was happy to get all those angles, and I didn't even get all of them. I was supposed to go to the north side. Like, there was this one guy that I met who told me he was going to take me to the north side. Didn't end up happening. And then, you know, everyone was telling me, don't go to the north side. They were like, don't go because you're white. And I'm like, all right, I want to go, but I also, I don't want to be one of those like douchebag YouTubers that you just go deliberately go to a place while you know you're not wanted there. Like, that's, maybe I've done that a couple times in some of my videos. I don't know. Maybe I have, because I feel like at a certain point in time I thought that was a cool concept. Like, let's go where we're not wanted. I'm not really about that anymore. Like, I'll go where I want to go, and if I'm not wanted, I don't always care. But I don't know how I feel about like deliberately doing so, like taking that as the reason to go there. Like, if a group of people don't want me somewhere, listen, I'm used to that. Anywhere I go in this world, there's going to be somebody who doesn't want me there. So I don't really care. It's not going to stop me from living my life. But at the same time, I don't want to have a YouTube channel where it's all about like, hey, they don't like people like me there, so let's go make a video there and show them that it's okay. Like, there's enough of that on YouTube. I like to just naturally just go where I'm curious, and, you know, wherever we end up, and if we meet the right people, we'll vibe. But I'm going to try to not do that whole, oh, like, you know, let's go almost die and then post it on YouTube and get views. I don't think I want to do that. If I do, I'll do it. You'll see me do it. But I don't think, like right now, I don't think I want to do that. So that's the vibe I got. I don't know. Milwaukee, people were telling me, like, don't go to the north, don't go to the north, don't go to the north. You hear it enough times, you just don't want to go anymore. People told me in Chicago, don't go too far south, don't go too far south. By the way, all the comments and like people were telling on my Chicago video, oh, he went south after the guy told him not to. I'm like, dude, I listened to him. He said don't go too far. So I went to Bridgeport and that's it. I didn't go farther than that. I could have. Like, I could have gone to Englewood. I met a great guy from Englewood later on in the video. I told him I want to go there. He's like, no, you don't. So if the friendliest guy from Englewood is telling me don't go to Englewood, like, I don't know if I want to go. Of course, naturally curious Adam does want to go. But if somebody has their home, doesn't want me there, I don't always want to go. But like I said, at the end of the day, if it's important enough to me to go, I will go. I don't care what other people think. But we'll leave it at that. Cities in the US, we're very used to that. Everyone has their corner. Everyone has their hood, their house, their family. I think that's what people like about this country. It's this individualistic, communal lifestyle where it's like, we got our tribe, let us breathe, and we'll let you breathe, and that's it. And if this country was a little too small or any smaller, it would be different, right? But, you know, we have enough space here for everyone, which is pretty cool, or almost everyone. Anyways, where am I going with this? We talked about New Orleans. We talked about Chicago. We talked about Milwaukee. I want to leave it at that for those cities. Then I go to New York. I tell myself, okay, if I go to New York, I have to do something that's going to make it fun for me. Because New York, from the get-go, is not like, it's not my favorite place. I do like New York. I think it's, you know, because it's got so much going on and people from all over the world, so automatically Adam likes New York. But I've been there so many times, and again, when you go to a place so many times and you do the same thing, it's like, getting excited to make a video there was almost impossible. But then I told myself, you know what I'm going to do? Instead of doing this whole like 1 or 2 filming days BS and walking around and just saying, oh, this is New York and posting it, we got to do New York the proper way. We got to do New York the proper way. And that is go to all 5 boroughs. Now, that's what I did. I didn't give each borough equal weight. You'll notice if you watch the video, it's like, okay, maybe Queens or Brooklyn were a little longer than the Bronx and Staten Island, of course. Can't give each borough the same amount of weight. Not all of them are, in my experience, not all of them were as interesting, or not all of them were as eventful as the other. But at the end of the day, making a New York video, people of New York video, you can't just go to Manhattan and you can't just go to Brooklyn. Like, you gotta kind of tie it all together. New York's one of those places where you could literally visit all 5 boroughs. There's no problem with doing so. People say, stay out of the Bronx. There was the lady who told me that I belong in Manhattan, that I shouldn't be in the Bronx. I know that happened, but you could go to the Bronx. Like, let's be honest, it's not like, all right, what you see on the news and everything going, it's like, that's not like 24/7 all the time, every place. Like, you can go, get yourself a coffee, see the main avenue, talk to the people. Like, it's fine. You just kind of have to feel it out. And again, even in the Bronx, one of the things that I experienced there, and I didn't initially want to start with the Bronx, but we're going to start with the Bronx anyways. It was like my 3rd day that I was there filming and in New York, and we went to the Bronx. In the morning, I was kind of just like feeling out the vibe of the borough, and there was the main street there. I can't remember which one it was that I got off at, and there was like a bunch of street vendors. It kind of gave me the feel of like, Washington Heights, like other neighborhoods, other parts of New York that I've been to already. But everything seemed chill. When I started going on side streets and stuff, and there's a lot of people loitering. They're just sitting on their bikes or on the steps outside, just smoking a joint. Like, it's like, they're looking at you, especially if you're not from there. They start looking at you, and so the best thing you can do in that situation is talk to them, because it's like, if you're just walking by, right, and like they're looking at you, like, what the hell are you doing here? And then you're looking at them and not saying a word, then it's sketch. But if you say good morning, like, I haven't heard of one situation where like you tell someone good morning and they do something bad to you. It almost never exists. Maybe you can find an example that will prove me wrong, but from my experience, doesn't matter where I've been, Brazil, Mexico, New York, any place, you look someone in the eyes and you tell them good morning, they are not doing anything bad to you. Now, you can find yourself still in weird situations. Like, I was talking to these 2 guys, and they're from the Bronx, and like, they're just smoking, they're on their bicycles. My camera's off, right? Because I don't just put my camera in everyone's face. Sometimes I'm just walking around feeling out the neighborhood and my camera's off and we're just talking. And we're having a good conversation, and 5 minutes later, we're already, we're shooting the shit, we're laughing about life. And one of the guys tells me, when you were first talking to my friend, I was a little pissed off because I thought you were a cop. He's like, I was getting annoyed. And he told me that to my face after we had already, we all kind of connected, and he felt comfortable to tell me that. And he was honest with me. He's like, I thought you were a cop. So that just shows, how in these big cities in the US, and especially New York, everyone has their life in their borough and their neighborhood. It's not, everyone's also busy. Like, nobody has really time or interest to go to these other places. They just stay in their life. And so that's why me being there was so abnormal for them. But at the same time, I think anyone can really go there. It's just, you don't really have much to do there. And, if we're making a video about New York, we have something to do there. But again, they were telling me that the people who come to the Bronx to make videos are usually trying to, glorify the ghetto life, and, they want to do a hood vlog, and I wasn't there doing that. So that's why they were confused, like, what the fuck are you doing here? But New York was awesome. Queens is my favorite place, I think, because, it's not just Astoria, like the Greek neighborhood. It's, the Jackson Heights, and then you got other neighborhoods like Elmhurst and Flushing, like the Asian pockets, and it's like the food there is crazy. There's people from all over the world. You got Latinos, Asians, people from, like, the Balkans. Like, it's just, it's wild. Like, culturally, Queens is awesome. You can eat delicious food, meet nice people, get a little bit more of a relaxed vibe from the hustle and bustle of like Manhattan, while still living a city life. And I think, the buildings are shorter. It's cool. Queens was awesome. We met that guy who told me he was homeless for 5 years and he's living on government checks, and his girlfriend lit him on fire because they're both alcoholics, and he thought it was so cool that I was filming him too. Like, he didn't care. He was just telling me all this straight to my face. That was a conversation I didn't think I'd have. Bobby and Tommy. You're Greek.
No Greek de Papa.
You're Greek.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's Irish. I gave them their own video on the channel. Like, that's how much I think that they are amazing and hilarious. And that whole interaction, if you didn't watch that, go watch that, because Bobby and Tommy will make me smile till the day I die.
Bobby, you want maybe Bobby. Adam, Papa. Nice. Good man. Yeah. Mom, take your mom.
Like, I want to have that video just to be able to watch whenever I want. Whenever I'm sad, I want to watch me, Bobby, and Tommy hanging out on that bench in Astoria, because it will automatically make me in a better mood. Brooklyn was pretty cool. Again, Brooklyn's massive, so I didn't really do it justice in my video. Just a couple weird experiences, and that's it. Overall, New York, what I want to say about New York is that, you know, it's our biggest city in the US. I do think that people are the loneliest there out of any other city, which is ironic, because you'd think the more people you have around you, the less lonely you'd be, but I think it's the loneliest city in the country. I just think that's a fact. But maybe it's not a fact, it's my opinion. But I think it's the loneliest place. It's what I've gathered from speaking to people there. One of the guys I spoke to in Staten Island, he didn't want to be in the video, but he was telling me that it's not the same. People don't have the family anymore, the values, life's not the same. You know, this guy in his 50s living in his mom's basement, you know, like he can't even, I can't talk on the phone right now. But anyways, it was sad to hear that. People in New York were complaining about a lot of things. They were complaining about a lot of things. And I think these complaints are also heard in other big cities around the world. I don't think I've been hearing it just for the first time in New York. But it's not just like the loneliness, it's also the cost of living, it's also the dirtiness, it's also the danger, it's also, people are just, I don't know what's happening with people in big cities, like what they're actually feeling. But from what I've gathered, the people that I've spoken to, it's pretty rough. One of the craziest things that I realized about New York, like one of the biggest changes, besides, you know, it's always been dirty and it gets dirtier, but the whole vibe and the people on the street and in the subway, and it's starting to feel like those dangerous cities that people told me to be careful in Latin America. Like, New York's starting to feel more like that. So again, for me, it's not a problem, because I lived in Sao Paulo, I spent time in Bogota, in Buenos Aires, like in all these cities in Latin America where it's like, all right, you're used to the normal precautions. It's like, okay, you don't walk around at night because it's not worth it, right? Like, take an Uber, or, you know, make sure you're home at a decent hour. Like, you know, don't walk around with jewelry or whatever. I don't own expensive jewelry, so it doesn't matter. But New York is starting to feel like that. And you can already see it on the subway. Like, you go on the train, or you're sitting at a restaurant, like, you know, near the street, and like people are coming up with their little kids, like a 4-year-old is trying to sell you a lollipop. And that is something that 5 years ago, I didn't see it ever in New York. When I was living in Brazil in 2021, in Sao Paulo, I used to get kids would come up to me at restaurants, and they would be like, hey, buy this candy, and I'd feel so bad. For me, it was so foreign, it was so shocking, I was like, I couldn't understand, why is there someone who's 3 or 4 years old trying to, like, hustling like this, trying to sell me candies at midnight? This is not what a childhood looks like. I was so heartbroken to see that. And for me, it was like this crazy shock. And my Brazilian friends were so used to it, and they were so desensitized to it. They were just like, you know, let it go. You can't help everyone. And surely enough, now I go to New York, and it's the same shit. It's the same thing. Everything that I thought was so foreign and different and far away and not in reality, it's in New York now. So New York overall is feeling like any capital city in Latin America. I'll tell you that much. I don't than I do in Bogota. or in Sao Paulo or in Rio. Like, honestly, this is not one of those videos. I'm not gonna like totally shit on New York, but I don't feel any safer. I don't feel any, you know, more danger per se, but I think it's moving in that direction. But that's a whole other conversation. Overall, New York still is New York. It's got all the cultures, it's got all the food, it's got all the action, it's got a lot of fun, and there's always things going on there. So, like, again, I can't shit on New York. It's like, New York's New York. Okay, it's dirty. People clearly don't care that it's dirty. A lot of people still want to live there. It's, you know, it's a great place in other ways, in ways that make it worth living there, I guess. So, New York for me was such a cool experience this time because I made myself do something that I would have never made myself do. If I wasn't making videos on the internet, I would have never taken a week to go to every single borough and talk to people in every single borough. And what was so fun about it was that I didn't feel like I had to do it interview style. I was actually hanging out with them. Like, Bobby and Tommy and I were like, we were hanging out. The camera was off for 70% of that interaction. That's what was crazy. Like, I actually felt like I was getting the experience. So that was so fun. I would have never done that if I was a New Yorker living a New York life, working a New York job. I would have never ended up in that position. And that's why I'm so grateful for the opportunity to make these videos, because it really lets me live experiences that I wouldn't have lived before. So for anyone wondering, you know, does YouTube ruin my actual having fun in a place, traveling in it? Of course, it's not vacation. Of course, if I want to get a video out next Sunday, I got to push myself to film on a day that I don't feel like filming. But like, overall, I look at this as like, this is what I view as, you know, a profession, what I'm dedicating my life to. I can't talk on the phone right now. All right, guys, let's stay focused. This is our longest. I can't do this. These rants. These solo videos are so boring. Like, it's just me talking to you all, but to a camera in my car. It's so unnatural for me. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm running in circles, if any of this is coming across as valuable to you. I don't know if this is actually the information you want to know, but it is what it is. So I finish in New York. Where are we now? Finish in New York, I go to Boston. Take the train to Boston. Train's got some delays. Eventually get to Boston. I'm staying at this hostel. I should have put that in the video. I didn't put that in the video. I stayed at the International Hostel. It's like in Chinatown there in Boston. And Boston's a cool city. I thought I was gonna like not like it at all. And the first day of filming was actually, it started off horrific. And then I realized there's a Red Sox game. I should go. And then I go there. And I go to the stadium, and I get off the train. I have no plans. I don't know if I'm even going to go into the game or if I'm going to get tickets. I get off the train, I go, and like, there's this guy, these season ticket holders are trying to sell their tickets, and one guy wants to sell me bleacher seats and like a bleacher seat, and then the other guy wants to sell me 2 tickets next to the Green Monster, the big wall in Fenway Park, which is the oldest park in baseball. It's like one of the most historic, one of the most popular places also to visit. One of the best things to do in Boston if you go visit. It's like, go to a game at Fenway Park. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna do a touristy thing in this video, and it's gonna be cool. This guy wants to sell me 2 tickets, and I'm like, I'll buy both of them because I wanted to sit next to the big green wall, the Green Monster.
Right,
I'll buy both. Yeah, I'll buy both.
Okay, cool. I'll set you up.
Yeah.
All right, you want to go in? I could even give you a small tour.
And he's like, that's great. So I try to find someone who's gonna come with me. I wanted to like gift a stranger type thing. Not just for the video, but that would have been cool, right? Well, I'll buy both of them. Let's just find someone who wants to go.
Find somebody good.
Hopefully we meet an interesting stranger. Maybe a nice, attractive young lady who wants to go to a baseball game by herself and happens to run into me. But no, that's not going to happen. So Tommy, the guy who's selling me the tickets, ends up coming in with me, gives me a whole tour. He's super knowledgeable about the Boston Red Sox and the Fenway Park and everything. He's been there for years. He's from Connecticut, but he married someone from Boston. So she comes, his wife comes, and we enjoy the game together. And I get this whole Boston experience, like, without even asking for it.
Welcome to Fenway Park.
Just handed to me, like, again, it's like, this is Boston. This is not, they're not known to be the friendliest people in the country. Actually, the contrary. They're Northeast, like, you know, New York vibe, but Boston. And it's just like, they're, you know, people make them out to be these dicks, but they're not. I mean, I guess it depends. Every city's got dicks. But Tom was so nice, and his wife was so nice, and they gave me this whole experience. You know, we're coming off Louisiana hospitality. We're coming off, you know, the Chicago, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, like, friendliness of the Midwest. We go to New York, no expectations of anyone being friendly there, but we found some very friendly people, of course. And then we get to Boston, and we get this whole welcome experience, which was, you know, it made me realize there are awesome people everywhere. And so, yeah, that was pretty wild, pretty awesome. The next day in Boston was pretty dull, besides the fact that I run into this lady who had the craziest cancer survival story that she just spilled on me when I didn't even ask for it, but it was so beautiful and so random. And just at like 9 a.m. on a random sidewalk in a random neighborhood, you know, a random suburb of Boston. Like, what am I doing there? Again, what am I doing there? And I got my camera on, and I'm just walking on this sidewalk, and I say hi to her, and it just, like, she was drumming away at the air, dancing. I'm talking about this as if you guys all know what I'm talking about because it's from the Boston video, but guys, if you're gonna watch anything on my channel, please watch that, because she was, like, whatever she had going on, her energy, for me, it was, like, essential to continue. Like, that interaction alone made me want to continue making videos for years. Like, that was crazy. So basically, here's what happened. I'm walking in this suburb in Boston called Roslindale. I'm just, like, on a sidewalk. I wanted to see, like, a normal Boston neighborhood, like, outside of downtown. So it's like 8 or 9 in the morning. I got my coffee to go. I'm walking down this sidewalk or whatever, and, like, I see this lady from a distance. She's got short hair, like, she's wearing a red shirt. She's got AirPods in, and she's drumming away at the air, and she's kind of dancing on the sidewalk. It's 8 in the morning, lady. What are you doing? You're alone. Like, it didn't look like she was on drugs or anything, but, like, I had to know. So, like, at least tell me what you're listening to. So, you know, maybe I'll throw it on my headphones too. I stop her, and I'm like, hey, what are you listening to? And she goes, sorry? I'm like, what are you listening to? She goes, oh my God. Actually, you know what? I'm going to play the clip for you right now. What are you listening to?
I'm sorry.
What are you listening to?
Oh
I want whatever you're on.
Let me just tell you.
I see.
Do you know 3 years ago when they told me I have a terrible cancer and I was looking for a place in cemetery? I don't mind to die. I'm 68. But do you know, oh my God, 2 Fridays ago when my doctor called me and she said, you have not cancer anymore? Oh my God. I got shocked. My brother gave me my favorite song. I was professor, vice president, who cared about all these things. I realized what is important. In the morning, when I wake up, I have 2 hands, I have 2 legs, I can talk, I can walk, I can see. And I'm happiest person in the world.
Who would ever expect that? Who would ever expect to hear that? Come on. Like, come on. You're walking down a random street in a random neighborhood in Massachusetts, and you ask someone what they're listening to, and they tell you that. Come on. And tell me that this isn't all meant to be. You know what I mean? Tell me it's not meant to be. Or things happen for a reason. I don't know if things happen for a reason, but I know that there are all of these moments that keep on happening in my videos. Not always, but they happen enough to make me realize that whatever it is we're supposed to do in this world, we need to do it. And this might sound confusing, but I'm basically saying listen to your inner voice. So my inner voice told me, you gotta make videos about people, cultures, the places you go to, the languages you learn, these interactions. You gotta share them because they will be of value to someone. That I've basically decided, when I say inner voice, I've decided that's my mission, at least for now. And then while I'm actually doing the thing, I have all these moments of doubts where I say, hey, why am I doing this? Why am I walking down the street in New Orleans? It's hot as shit. I'm filming this video. One person just got pissed off at me for filming. Like, why am I, like, should I be doing this? Is this really good for the world or for anyone? And then boom, I'm walking down a street in Boston. Hey, how are you? What are you listening to? Oh my God, you have no idea. I just survived cancer. Da da da. Like, I'm so grateful. I'm so happy. I post a thing on Instagram. Everyone is like super happy. They got to see that. Dose of positivity for my day. All right, they're gonna forget about that 2 hours later. But even that dose of positivity, I feel like that's something that people need. I needed it because I was starting to get those thoughts again while I was walking there. I'm like, why am I here in this random suburb at 8 in the morning with a camera? Like, I'm being a weirdo. Why am I doing this? Go get a real job. But no, like, this lady crosses paths with me. For what? What gives me the nerve to actually stop her and annoy her with this simple question? What are you listening to? Like, what's going on in the universe for all this to happen? Just so we can get that clip to share it with the world and add 2 seconds of positivity to someone's day. Or maybe change the course of their day. How about that? Maybe somebody who woke up feeling like a worthless piece of shit, even though they are not. But they woke up feeling that way. They needed to see that video because, I don't know, so they can change the course of their day and do something awesome because they are awesome and they have the ability to do something awesome. You have 2 hands, 2 feet, even if you don't, there's something about you. There's something about you that this world needs. So how do we capitalize on that? How do we make you do the thing that you need to be doing? And I don't know if making videos is a thing I need to be doing, but I feel that way right now, and that's why I do it. And I'm grateful when people like that cross paths with me and give me the time of the day. And there was no way for me to probe that or provoke that or ask for that. How could I assume that this lady walking down the street dancing just survived cancer after 3 years of having terrible cancer, thinking she was going to die, getting ready to die, all of a sudden, boom, she's alive and she's feeling like she's on cloud 9, to say the least. Like, I never seen such happiness on a person. You're in freaking Boston on a sidewalk at 9 in the morning by yourself dancing. Like, you're on something amazing. Anyways, I don't know where I'm going with this whole video, guys. I just want to share these thoughts because I feel like they're not going to get across on the actual video. And maybe someone will find them valuable. That's all. What else? We finished Boston. I flew to DC. I was visiting a friend there. He was working a lot throughout the day, so it gave me time to do my own thing. And DC was a cool place. Like, you know, he loves living there. He had lived in New York before, and, you know, so again, looking at DC as a city in that sense, I think it's a great place in terms of the restaurants, the multiculturalness of things, and people from everywhere. Again, same deal, you know, great place, but very, very heavy on the politics, right? And I know I should have expected that, but for me, it's like, I know politics are like a part of our lives, and it's inevitable, and it's important, and whatever. Who are you voting for in November? I don't know. For me, all of the things that I do in my videos, all the people I interact with, I know that people come from different backgrounds, different political opinions, different, you know, it's never really stopped me from having an awesome time with everyone. So to go to a city like DC, it's like I want to be able to do the same thing, but at the same time, it's like, you know, every building's got another sign, another message, and like every person that you talk to, it's like they got they're trying to push something on you that you didn't fucking ask for, politically speaking. Not everyone, but enough that it kind of aggravates you, and DC is kind of one of those places, you know? Like, I'm taking my Uber to the airport and we're talking about politics. Like, why are we talking about politics? What the fuck are we doing? Like, how did we get here? But it's just what it is. And people are going to say, obviously, they're talking about politics. It's the capital. But so what? Like the capital, like Mexico City is the capital of Mexico. Bogota is the capital of Colombia. I don't go there talking about politics. I go there and I see a city that I can enjoy. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? So, anyways, Washington, D.C., great place, but not great place. It's that mix. And disclaimer, I visited at a bad time because it was very hot. I would say the highlight of DC would be all the different restaurants you can go to, and I also liked how it was organized. Like, their public transportation is really good, and I don't know why I didn't use enough of it. I walked so much when I was there, but their public transportation is really good. The city's clean. It's very DC's very taken care of. I know some residents from DC will say, maybe they'll argue that. They'll be like, hey, we got danger. We got like a lot of crime. We got like, all right, I don't know. I don't live there. But at a first glance, it was like, wow, this city like works well. And like New York can learn a lot from DC. Obviously it's smaller, way smaller in size, but like DC is like impressive in that sense. But then once you start, I don't know, getting into the whole, the conversations there and all the messages and the billboards and like the flags, like it just gets exhausting. And that's pretty much it, my friends. I think that wraps it up for our city recap. I hope you enjoyed. I know this was a little bit of a different type of video, but again, I want to reintroduce the possibility of making more podcast or solo rant episodes for the Papo. I will try to keep this to a minimum on the main channel, unless you would feel that it is better to do more of these videos. You can let me know. But anyways, yeah, that's the thing. We did the recap. We're here in Florida right now. I have some adventures coming up, some really exciting stuff. We're going to go to different countries soon. So thank you for supporting me. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate all of you. And I'll see you in the next one.